Hey up, good morning, my name is Jamie and this morning we're out for a lovely little walk. It's a bit misty and foggy and all that jazz today, but it's a lovely, relatively warm day, and today we're going around Shroggs Park. Ooh. So, like I said, good morning everybody. It's a Tuesday morning, just after 9 o'clock, 9:30, something like that. I don't know why I always tell you the time, but maybe you'd like to know. It is a bit of a misty day today, but like I said back there, it is actually very pleasant, especially for a little morning mooch. So I thought today we'd keep it nice and local. And them rocks. Keep it nice and local and just have a little walk around a park that's maybe 5 minutes away from my house. Shroggs. Now it is another council run park, as you can see by the sign back there. And this is probably in it's probably in the top 3 of places where I like to come and walk. My late father-in-law, he used to bring the kids here a lot when they were little, and his little dog Tommy, and that's so it is a nice, lovely walk. Couple of things before we get going. On one of my last videos, the story time one of Papa Stewart, couple of corrections. The ram. If you don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, I'll leave the, I'll put it up here somewhere on a little card. Click that, it'll take you to the video I'm talking about now. The ram that my brother was riding wasn't called Doppel. I remember thinking, when I said Doppel, I thought, that's not right. It was Ploddle, which makes more sense because he was slow. So yeah, back to story time again today. I want to carry on a little bit. Just listen to that, it's lovely. I want to carry on a little bit from where I left off before. And we're going to talk today about what it was like for me once I moved off Papa Stewart onto the mainland, went to high school, and primarily it's about living in the school hostels. Now the school hostels, they were for all the kids that had to come from, you know, I suppose now they'd say a catchment area, from the outer islands or up and down the island, and couldn't travel to and from Lerwick every day reasonably, so we stayed in these hostels. Now I remember getting all the stuff packed, or the stuff packed for me, should I say, because I was only very little. And off we went to this strange new land. Now, like I said before, I had been living on Papa Stewart for a number of years. So when I moved out to the mainland, to me it seemed like being in the middle of London. It was like it was non-stop all the time, people around everywhere and just things going full tilt. It was quite an unnerving experience actually, because I had to start sort of not learning, well, I suppose, yeah, so I had to learn how to interact with people again, which was all right for me, because I mean, you don't do things like this without being a little bit of an extrovert. Now, I've always had no issue whatsoever in talking to people, you know, just basically going up and saying, hey up, my name's Jamie, but I didn't say that then, because if you'd have said hey up when you were up there, you'd have probably got the shit kicked out of you, because they didn't like the English much. So we had to kind of change our accents a little bit just to try and fit in. This is lovely autumn stuff here, isn't it? Right, fair. Right, Jamie, no, don't get distracted, stick on topic. Yeah, we got to the mainland and had a look around this hostel. Now, I'll try and describe it the best that I can. Now, the hostel, it was basically a block of bed sits, more or less. I mean, you should know what a hostel is. It's not that sort of archaic that nobody knows what one is anymore. It's or is it? And yeah, so we had a look around, and instantly I knew that I was going to love it there. Now, when you walked into, there was like a TV room, and it had a pool table and, you know, some nice big comfy couch things to sit on. That was like the common area, and all the bedrooms kind of went off the side of that. But then when you walked through the pool hall, you got into a snooker room, and so it was only the big kids that were allowed to play on the snooker table, for the obvious reasons, because most of us couldn't even see over the... Yeah, I was very short at that time. I mean, I'm still short now, but at that time when I went to high school, I must have been about 3'2". I was I was very tiny. And yeah, so you went into the snooker room, and that had music, stereo systems, all that sort of thing, which is probably worth a fortune nowadays. And then there was the little office where whoever was on night duty was in there. There was always somebody in there in case there were any problems or anything. The guy that ran the hostel was called Mr. McGee. I'll never forget Mr. McGee for as long as I live, for a couple of reasons, which I will tell you about very soon. So yeah, the layout, and then off the snooker hall, or the snooker room, you'd go across, and this is where all the bedrooms started. I can't remember off the top of my head how many bedrooms there were, but there were a couple of levels. Now, the bedrooms, very basic, just a wardrobe and a bed. And they were great. They were warm all the time, and we used to play different games, which I'll tell you about in a minute too after I get this description firmly planted into your head. And that lovely little skate thing. So yeah, then when you walked back out of the where the bedrooms and bathrooms and all that lot were, then you could actually walk into the main school itself. So there was no real reason to go outside. You know, if you were in a hurry, you could just literally run down the corridor and into school. And on the way there was a tuck shop and a little workout gym type thing. Now, it didn't take me very long to make some friends. There were a lot of kids there that were from the other outer islands, like Fair Isle, Fetler, Fuller, all that. There was a few there. So I mean, they were in the same sort of boat as me. You know, they had to sort of adjust to life on the outside of an island. It didn't take as long. It really didn't take as long. And I had my own little friend group. Now, without wanting for a better word, sometimes in the hostel we got a bit bored. So we were a little bit, shall we say, a little bit of a bastard. Especially to the man that was supposed to be looking after us, Mr. McGee. Now, he actually lived in the hostel building as well. He had one of the rooms upstairs. Well, it was more like a proper flat, you know, upstairs. He lived there full time, so. And yeah, on a night time, we weren't supposed to come. The rooms weren't locked or anything like that, but we weren't supposed to really come out of your room. You know, it was like being a kid at home. You know, once you're in bed, stay in bed. And of course, we decided not to do that. Now the particular hostel that we were staying in, there was two parts of it. There was the boys and then the girls, and neither of the two shall mingle, or so they thunk. So you can imagine what kind of bastardry we used to get up to. Yeah, and we used to shout up the stairs to Mr. McGee, and we used to call him Fat Turd. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. The language in this video is going to be awful. So just a little bit of a warning. If you're a little bit sensitive, yeah, this probably isn't going to be the video for you. So, anyway, just on a little side note, there's a little path when you're walking around here, and that you can go all the way down, and it pops out onto the main road down by B&Q. So there is a couple of other ways to get in here. Some lovely old steps there. So yeah, we used to get shouted at a lot, but of course when you're that age and you know you're away from home, you're feeling mischievous, the more rises that you can get out of your peers, probably the better. So you know, I think folk have kind of realised now not to fall for the tomfoolery, because it'll just make things worse. But anyway, after we got bored with that, we decided, oh, I know what we can do. Let's go flip beds. Right? So, now this is leading on to another story now, which is quite interesting. Well, it's not interesting, but it's just something to tell you, basically. So what we used to do is we used to wait till about 2 o'clock in the morning when most people were sleeping. And there was one guy called Magnus. Now Magnus was from Fuller. We used to call him Magni Gug. Now, if you don't know what a gug is, it's like an idiot. And he used to get picked on a little bit, but in a nice way, because he was one of my friends, and that. But he was just the one that was easiest to bed flip. So what we used to do, there used to be 3 of us, and we used to grab hold of the bottom of the bed, underneath where the mattress is thing, you know, the bed base, and we literally used to just, with all the strength, flip it up in the air. The bed would go whee with the person inside it sleeping. They weren't sleeping for very long, and it was hilarious. Now that happened to me several times as well. I didn't find it so hilarious when it happened to me, but when I was doing it to other people, it was like wet your pants type funny. So yeah, we used to get up to all that sort of thing. Now the school itself, at first I was having a bit of a struggle there, bit of a meep time really. There was a certain bunch of lads that didn't take to me too kindly for one reason or another, and you know, they used to do the usual crap, you know. And hang on a minute, let me just sit you down here for a minute. Let me just sit you down there for a second. Hang on. Right. Apologies about that. I just had to tighten up my little bag. I think I'm going to have to tighten it up again. Where was I? Yeah, so these lads, they started following me around the school and that sort of thing, you know, shouting, calling names, you know, just the typical sort of bullcrap that kids do, the bullcrap stuff that kids do. There's a squirrel. Don't get distracted. A squirrel eating something with a magpie. Oh, that's cool. Oh, squirrel. Which also reminds me, off topic again, my God, this video is everywhere today. My daughter is sorting me out a camera, like a camera, because I'm hoping to get a little setup going for a lovely backpack that I'm hopefully getting for Christmas. Woo! And yeah, I'm going to have a proper camera to take some pictures, because I mean, pictures around here in this sort of time of year, absolutely stunning. So yeah, these lads started following me around, all that lot. Now there were a couple of bigger boys in the hostel, and they were the type that were always in the weight room and all that load of stuff, and they could see what was happening. So one day they decided to step in. Now I was hiding around a corner from these boys because one of them was wanting to fight me, and at that time I didn't want or know how to fight, so I thought, nah, not for me, I'll just hide here. And anyway, these two lads, they came over and sorted it out, shall we say. They warned them off, and these lads at the time, they're big, whoa. They warned them off and I didn't have any problems again, which was very good. Now, I'm going to have to tighten this bag again. Park run. See, this is another thing that you can do. You can come down here on a Saturday morning, Saturday at 9. Wonderful. I would love to do that, but unfortunately that's the time that I set off to go to work. So anyway, right, I didn't have any problems after that with these lads. But the two boys that were in the hostel, I started hanging around with them a little bit, and they were like, oh, you know, just stick with us for a bit and we'll see you right. For what reason, I don't know. They just seemed to take a bit of a liking to me, which was good. Hang on, I'm just going to tighten this thing up again a little bit. So yeah, they seemed to take a liking to me, and sort of took me under their wing a little bit, which was really good. So then they said to me, well, listen, we're going to be going. I think they were leaving school the year after, and obviously going back to do whatever they were going to do. So they said, right, well, we'll teach you how to fight. And I thought, I don't really want to know how to fight. Yes, I do. So I started hanging about with them. I started going to the little gym thing with them. And it turned out that I was a lot stronger physically than what I looked to be. Now, that could be because of growing up on Papa Stewer, lifting sheep around, carrying bloody hay bales, you know, all that sort of stuff. It actually built up some muscle that I didn't know about or didn't know how to use. So that brings me back to the bed flipping sort of thing. Now, it used to be 4 of us or 3 or 4 of us that used to flip these beds. Then it ended up being just me and one of my other friends called Stuart. Now, I called him Stewpot. I can't remember exactly where he lived, but it was up towards West Burford. It might even be West Burford that he lived. And I used to sometimes go around to his at the weekend and, you know, chill out at his for a bit. That was the first time I ever played Treasure Island Dizzy on the old tape deck, squeaking ZX Spectrum. It was fantastic. So there was one time I was at his, and there was a neighbouring farmer that brought over these quads, and they were like, do you want a shot on these quads? And I was like, do I? Yeah, definitely. I'd never ridden one before. And he says, right, well, Stuart's just going to go out and have a quick blast around, and then you can have a go. I was like, brilliant. So Stuart, he's off like a bloody rocket. Obviously, he was used to driving these things every weekend. And he was off down this little dirt track type thing, but there was like a 50-foot drop on the other side of it, and he must have been going at about 60 mile an hour. And I thought, wow, yeah, I bet that gets the bloody old ticker going, so I'm going to do that. Now, before I got on the quad, the farmer guy who owned the machine, he says, just have a little go in this field first, see how you get on with it. So I was like, all right. And within 30 seconds, I'd crashed it. Yeah, my thumb on the throttle, and I forgot to take my thumb off the throttle when I wanted to stop, so I ended up crashing it into a fence. And yeah, then I don't think I was allowed another go on that. But it's a good job that I didn't go the trail that Stuart did, otherwise I'd be... Now, back to the hostel. It was, for me, a hell of a lot of fun. The school was great. I got on with all my teachers. In fact, one of them, when I was leaving, one of the teachers actually bought me a Parker pen to say goodbye, which was really nice. Sure, these used to be bowling greens. A football thing. Nobody bothers with grass balls anymore, do they? I suppose you can go play it inside all year round, I suppose. Now, I was quite sad when it came to leaving the hostel. I got moved to another high school in Sandwick when we moved there. Now, that was the turning point where everything in my life started to change when we moved to Sandwick. Now that, I'm afraid, is going to be a story for another time. Because that's when everything changed. Yeah, so I don't know, they probably, I mean, I'm going on like these things don't exist anymore, but it's basically like living on a uni campus or, you know, something similar to that. It's basically just dorms. But back then, because you were so far away from home, and for me, it was the first time that I'd been kind of like out in, well, not out in public. That makes me sound like freaking John Merrick or something. Elephant man. But it was the first time that I'd had to deal with folk other than islanders. Now this thing is absolutely gorgeous too. We've got a cracking picture here of my father-in-law with his little dog stood here. Oh, wait, supposed to be walking around it, silly gimbal. Yeah, we got a lovely picture of my father-in-law stood here with his dog. And you know what? When I got out of the car, I said to myself, watch. Do your watch. Set your watch. I forgot to set my watch, so there'll be no map again. But you can rewind the video, step back a bit, rewind. Geez, what year is this? Christ. You can step back the video a little bit and look at the sign probably about 3 minutes ago for the park run, and that gives you, I think it's about 2.5 kilometers, to be fair. And yeah, so it was a bit of a different experience being in the hostel for me personally, because I mean, a lot of folk now, they go to the uni accommodations and stuff, and they're used to the hustle and bustle of life and people being around all the time and weird noises, which was a big thing for me, because you got to remember I was on a little island, and the only noises that you ever heard on a night were sheep and waves crashing. That was basically it. And then to move to a town, it was a bit crazy. So yeah, there was a bit downstairs at the hostel where you had to go and do your homework and, you know, home study and all that lot. If you ever had any free periods, you were supposed to be in there. Now, I wasn't in there. Nah, I was round the back smoking cigarettes. Oh, tut tut tut. And yeah, it was kind of like the cool thing to do then, was smoking cigarettes. And of course, a lot of the other kids that were in the hostel, they were getting ready to leave, so they were all like 16, 17. I actually remember there was one lad that was there called Thor, and he was actually from Papastua, his brother Luke and Thor, so you can imagine what kind of family they were growing up in. And he was actually there, and I remember him getting his first council tax letter when he was 18. But I never really had much to do with him, because I was a lot younger, and just because you were from the same island doesn't mean to say that you liked each other. So yeah, that's about it for today. It's a nice easy walk around Shroggs. It is lovely and flat. There's plenty of benches, and this time of year it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the colours and everything this time of year are outstanding. So that's why my daughter Chloe, she's the media student, and so she's gonna sort me out a camera, little DSLR thing, one of her old ones, not a new one because that is way too fancy schmancy, jeez. And yeah, so that'll probably be about it for today. So that was Shroggs Park in Halifax. I'll leave, as always, the description, the link to this place in the description, and also in that description box as well there'll be a link to my best mate's channel, the Angling Giant. So make sure you check him out. There is a video coming very soon with me and him. And so yeah, that's another story time. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit kind of all over the place, I know, but you know, these things happen when your train of thought isn't, you know, it's jumping around everywhere when you're trying to remember things that happened like 30 odd years ago. That's a scary bloody thought, isn't it? Yeah, don't forget to get your poppies as well. And that's, so yeah, that's the end of story time number 2. What it was like living in a hostel. And yeah, like I say, I hope you enjoyed it. Next time I'm going to go to, not telling you, but the next one is going to be a banger. So don't forget, subscribe so you don't miss out any other content. If you would like to do so, that would be amazing. Give it a big fat thumbs up. If you write a little comment in the bottom there, that would also be appreciated. It just helps with all the algorithm stuff, because the more people like it, share it, comment on it, the more people will get to see the video, which is brilliant, because I mean, that's why we do them, isn't it? We like to talk. It's good to talk, and it's also good to ramble. So yeah, we'll just have a little mooch around this bit here, and yeah, don't forget, keep an eye out for the next video. I'm hoping that that's going to be early next week. I might be doing another live at some point within the next couple of days. So if you've got any questions that you want to ask me, write them in the comments. Make sure you end it with a question mark, and then I can use some creative magic. You can basically just filter them by question, comments by question. If you've got any that you'd like me to answer, write it in the comments box and I'll bung it on a live or on the next video. If we get any questions, I hope we do. But anyway, that was story time number 2. Number 3 will be, wow, number 3. That's gonna be a story and a half. Wow. So anyway, for now, my name is Jamie. I'm your Yorkshire walker. Get to Shroggs Park. I'm out. Peace.